Another draft science video presentation. This is a wrap up of the Stephen BROUGHzo video. Yeah. In hindsight, after you watch the video, you can figure out some of the ways he did these experiments, and I can explain, why he got the results he did. Now, the funny thing in the video is he's really admitting in half the video that I'm right, that exactly what I said and predicted would happen. So when he did the experiment in a more clinically correct manner, a manner where you'd have more expectation of getting, of understanding exactly what the circumstances of the experiment are, that is, what exactly is the velocity and the masses and all that stuff, then he gets my results. And when that's all ambiguous, whether he's got the velocities right or anything else, then his argument is apparently validated. So it's only when he does the experiment badly that he has, he can show us images of it working his way. Like I said, we didn't see all of his experiments. We didn't see whether he, quote, mined his results. None of that. And so... but clearly, in the video, he's basically admitting I got conflicting results. So he's admitting that it didn't turn out the way he wanted. Okay, he didn't prove anything, actually. So even though he says, now I can't say there's no experiments, he's basically saying there's no experiments because his results didn't make a clear statement, because with a spring, he didn't get the results he wanted. Okay, and when he used a lever, he did. So these are sort of really important details to anybody who cares about science having any integrity at all. I mean, if it's going to be more than just voodoo, and what medicine man is wearing the right hat, or doing the right photoshopping, or other fakery, if that's all it's going to be, is who's putting on a better medicine show, if that's all you care about, trolls. I mean, is that really all you care about? Is the snake oil shows? You just want it all to be in the form of snake oil and antics and bullshit and dishonesty, because you just keep rewarding it. You just keep saying, yes, lie to us, fake us, dupe us. Don't give a shit about doing anything honest ever, because we're human beings and we revel living in a world full of bullshitters. That's what you're saying loud and clear. You're for the politicians, you're for the shenanigans, you're for trapping the human race forever in nonsense. Yes, let's argue about whether God wears white or whether he has a colored wardrobe. Yeah, let's argue about what kind of clothes are in God's closet. Forever, as human beings. Let's waste our time doing that shit. I mean, that's what these assholes want. They want a world where nobody talks about a real subject, where everybody has to obey some politically correct horse shit, where you can't say or open your mouth about any important subject because we're just going to declare you a racist, or we're going to declare you this, or we're going to declare you that. And that's the world these assholes are wanting and supporting, and then these doopy morons show up and sit there and clap their hands and say, yes. Yes, prevent rational conversation. Prevent any honesty from ever leaking into any conversation ever. In the name of Trump. Yeah, he's such an icon of the perfect honesty. The real integrity of human beings is demonstrated so profoundly by that dopey little frickin' inheritance faker, phony bullshitter. The ultimate medicine man. Fat, stupid one. He doesn't even have a bone in his fucking nose. And you've made him into the icon of the great anticer. Let's see what antics he can pull off tomorrow. Oh, God damn. You just want to live in some fake-breasted bullshit world. Oh, God. Anyway, so I depressed myself. Shit. Okay, endeavor to persevere, Gary. Yeah, I got it. I'll endeavor. So these comments are worth going over. I mean, I didn't do all of them, but well, okay, let's do the physics first. Physics first. Let's be scientific and, talk about reality. All right, so Stephen went to a lot of trouble, and it's disappointing. He went to all this trouble again. He did it, working on, the slit experiment stuff. Went to a lot of trouble, went to a lot of expense, and just threw it all away because he didn't want to do it right. But anyway. So in one experiment, he's using a lever. Okay, now we don't get to see how he's doing it or what the lever is made out of. Okay, but the idea is the lever swings to some point, and it's throwing an object that's placed here, and let's say an object placed here. Now you have to get those ratios right, these locations right, or you don't have much hope. But the idea is this distance will be shorter than this distance in the same time, so it'll swing. And the velocity at this point and the velocity at this point will be proportional. This will be half the velocity at this point of this total distance. So this distance, there's a place where this distance is 1/2 of this distance, and that'll give you 1/2 the velocity. So he's putting the 2-mass object here to give it half the velocity, and the 1-mass object here to give it the full velocity. So this has the 2 velocity, and this will have the 1 velocity. Now that's the theory, but of course it's a lever. Okay, so we don't know if he has a spring on here. Is this how it's working? And the problem with levers is once they get momentum, they can overswing. So you have to have a stop, either at this end or a stop at this end, to stop the lever from ever going too far, because that'll just screw it all up. To some extent. They'll add noise. All right, and there's lots of other things that can add noise in terms of the things moving. So you do also have to put a stop here and a stop here to stop this thing from having any tendency to be pushed in that direction instead of that direction. So it's not a very perfect system. So anyway, he flung the things, in theory, okay, at these proper speeds. Now, we just don't get to see any of that, so we don't know. And then he puts them into 2 different spring devices. Okay, and so the other thing we don't have is any knowledge that these springs are identical, beyond the sense they came out of the same packaging or something. I mean, springs aren't that perfect. So ideally, he should have just done, I would argue, he should have just done the experiment one at a time, and instead just move the same spring to the different locations to do the experiment. So you do 10 of these, and you do 10 of these, and and then you take your fair average of what took place. So we don't know if any of that happened. But anyway, so the results indicated vaguely some idea that this mass, this lighter mass, compressed the spring more. Now, again, is that really what happened? Now, more is not half. So we're supposed to have twice as much energy here. So it should be a rather dramatic difference between the 2 sides. I don't know if he made that apparent at all. But anyway, that's the problem with that experiment. So just like I said, I assume the fact is I didn't know what the hell he was doing in the experiments. Just watching the video the first time, it wasn't immediately apparent how he was doing the conducting the experiment. So I assume some others of you might have some misimpression about how precise this was. So I'm just saying, obviously there are issues. The other issue is the distance they travel. Like say if I set up this experiment, what I would do first is, set up the lever, and I'd put the objects on, and I'd see how far they travel based on friction. And that would tell me a lot. Because if I make this object twice as small, so we made of pucks instead of whatever, the things he used, you could make one smaller than the other, and then you'd have the same friction. That is, the same pounds per square inch would be on the surface, and that way he could, have some reliable, consistent friction, and eliminate that as noise, as error in the experiment. And then he could just, as long as he establishes this, that they travel exactly the same distance, he could get some proportional relationship. But the fact is, the heavier object will give away its its momentum. The slower, heavier object will give away its momentum to the surface quicker than the lighter object. So in some sense, you have to compensate for the fact that this object should travel less distance in the friction if it's going to hit the spring at a fairly proportional rate as this one. So it's another flaw. You have to compensate for this distance also. So not only do you have to get this distance exactly right on your lever, you have to get this distance right to compensate for the unevenness in the friction. So there's a lot of technical details you have to pay attention to. Now, apparently, okay, all of the dissenters, don't think it's important. Those details don't matter, and that this pretty sloppy experiment by any fair person's description, it's a pretty sloppy experiment. Kind of, snake oily, voodoo-y, not very well produced production kind of thing. Not a great idea. So anyway, the other experiment, he uses 2 spools of unknown perfection. Again, runs a string of some kind over them. So now we have friction here and we have friction here. Has it tied to a pawn, a weight of the same mass, and all we're going to do is see how high it lifts the weight by apparently banging into the spring, the string, and bending it. So by bending the string, we'll detect how much energy the thing went in with. So not impossible in theory as being some help, but again, now we're stuck with velocity issues. So the faster you could go into it, the more the string bites on the wheels. There's the immediate pressure and tension that's created that creates some, it's like whenever you shock a bearing, that is, you put a lot of weight on a bearing quickly, the bearing doesn't work as well. So these bearings are going to be stressed by that. All kinds of different features, again, that you have to be aware of in terms of, how much does this thread or string you're using, how much does it stretch? Another problem, if you do like fishing line or something, that could be a real issue because it stretches quite a bit. And then, again, we're still stuck with how you're launching the objects into it. So we're still stuck with, I guess, his lever. And so, again, it's a way of doing the experiment. But again, it's another way where, if you don't compensate or you account for these differences, you don't know what kind of results you're going to get. We don't know that the 2, and then he uses 2 again. Instead of putting both objects into the same device to measure it, the same scale. He wants to get them side by side. And then if you watch the video, you'll see that in every case he cut clips of the side by side and put them side by side again. So he edited it anyway. So the reason why you'd want to create 2 devices is so you could film them right next to each other in live. But the real object is to have the same device do the testing. So he should only build one of these and then tested both objects with the same device, not have 2 different ones that are going to have different coefficients here. You want to eliminate those differences, not exaggerate them. So for no good reason, again, he made 2 of the devices, assuming that this rather complex device and that has a lot of moving parts are going to be in some way identical, when you wouldn't have that expectation reasonably, that the 2 would have identical tension built into them. No way. So none of that. He didn't show us switching sides or any of that kind of crap. So not well done again. Now the other experiment was, I don't remember. Oh, the metal staple. So that one was so obviously a bad idea. So he, sets it up with these metal. So again, these are, this is so similar to the clay experiment that you got to argue that, wow, you're doing the actual experiment that I've already pointed out so many times has, a huge potential to get the wrong answer. What the hell is going on with the camera? Anyway, so not brilliant again. And then so he has the one object's much smaller than the heavier object in this case. And so obviously the pounds per square inch on this surface is going to be very different hitting the two objects. So obviously you're going to have a lot more concentrated energy here in the middle in this case than you are here, where it's going to be spread out over a lot of the staples. So it's it's kind of as obvious as pointing an arrow that yes, of course, this arrow is going to penetrate more than this one's going to penetrate in terms of pushing one part of the staple chain in a direction. So this, of all the experiments, this was the one that was the most, forget about even doing it. It's too flawed a concept. I mean, it didn't even conceptually or theoretically have much hope of showing the truth. So that one was really kind of just a gimmick. All right, and then he finally did the experiment I suggested, which is he used exactly the same spring. So he used a little device, just a trigger device that has a little plunger on it. You push the spring down, you get the same spring compression each time. And he used so he put the the one mass object on, and then he puts the two mass object on, and then he shoots it into a spring with a ruler right next to it, so we can just see the little notches, and compresses the spring. Now when he does this experiment, this equals that. Okay, the 1V object versus the 2V object, because we already know the spring is the same. So as I showed in the Professor Lewin video, the expectations are perfectly rational. That if I put a one mass object on, I'll get I'll get twice as much velocity if I double the mass. Y'all get half the velocity doubling the mass, and that's very well proven physics. That I can show you hundreds of videos demonstrating this simple fact. So in this case, they both have the same momentum, and they still have completely different kinetic energy. So the argument is this object has twice as much, okay, not a little bit much, 100% more energy, okay, than this object. That's what the kinetic 1/2 mv squared says, or VMV. Okay, 1/2 VMV. That's what this formula says. Again, the formula not created because there was some experiment that needed to be explained, not created because there was something wrong with Newton's mechanics and it didn't work. There was some flaw and it didn't predict something not right. This was not created to solve, Mercury's perihelion or something. This was created for no reason whatsoever, except voodoo scientists wanted there to be a living force, wanted there to be some mechanism that creates free will and free energy and free blah blah blah. I won't say free energy because Leibniz did not believe in perpetual motion. Okay, but it really doesn't. The logic is so flawed in the sense that there's just no good. You had to make extraordinarily careful and pointed arguments to defend this. It couldn't be defended if you showed all the evidence, or if you used the moon as an example. You couldn't use this formula to defend what the moon is doing. You can only use this formula, could only defend shooting stuff up in gravity from the earth, or doing clay experiments. Some experiment that's fundamentally flawed is the only purpose for this addition to physics. And later it became an addition to physics because it made the physics so much more interesting, because now we could give electrons preposterous amounts of energy. By making them go faster, we could make them insanely more energetic. But that's a whole nother story in the history. So I just want to verify. Okay, so their theory would predict that this would push the spring much deeper. Now, it won't be half because the spring gets tighter. So you'd say it's going to be like 33% more, some other number. That's another thing that was lacking from Stevens' analysis, was any demonstration of how tight, what the spring constant was of the springs he was using. But at any rate, what you basically saw in the experiment was the two objects pushed to, generally speaking, the same location. And Steve called it Gary's cheat. So the experiment that produces the right results, exactly as I predicted, he claims to be a cheat somehow. And he claims I already did the experiment because that's how I knew the results. Now, I knew the results because I know this formula is garbage. I know its history. I know it has not a single thing to defend it except chicanery and propaganda. There is no reason to believe this. There's no experiment that validates it. There's no experiment that shows it working. There's no bowler using the 8-pound ball. There's no wrecking company using the small basketball-sized wrecking ball. Okay, because it doesn't work. This theory does not predict accurately at all. So I think that it's an important context. So I didn't realize that, in Steven's video, even when he says things like, well, you have to accept my results, that he's basically saying, yes, but half my results indicated that Gary was 100% correct. Okay, 100% correct in Gary's prediction of what would happen if he did the experiment in the way Gary suggested, which is the most reliable way. This is a reliable source of energy, okay, and it will give you a reliable result. He chose to use other mechanisms, okay, that aren't as reliable, and other detecting mechanisms that aren't as reliable. Springs are very good. They don't get really hot. They don't waste a lot of energy. So whatever you do to a spring, you get back. It's a very good storage device. Okay, I mean, if it was practical, it's a great place to store energy. Maybe they could make big giant springs to collect, the energy from lightning bolts or something someday, because it works. Once you put it in there and you lock the spring, you can keep it there for years, decades, whatever. So it's a really good device for doing these measurements. And again, so when he did the experiment in the clinical, sensible, theoretically more reliable way, I am 100% validated by the experiment. And yet the trolls think I've been proven wrong. So because Steve made the video into a cartoon, he completely obfuscated the facts of his results, which are, they conflicted completely. I mean, one experiment proves me 100% correct, and the other three yucky experiments aren't as clear. They clearly say something else. They don't say it very clearly, though. They certainly don't show this twice as much energy thing. All right. In any consistent manner, anyway. So, yeah, that's probably enough. So let's read some of the dopey comments. And I hate to say it, react to them, because I probably shouldn't in any way react. But it's important what people are doing. When they raise their hand and support Trump, or they do these things, they got to be called on it, because they're not just saying, I think there's a few too many foreigners in the country. They are saying, make the rich richer. Okay, do everything you can to protect the rich from accountability in the law. Don't prosecute them for their tax evasion. Don't do this. Don't do, you're saying a lot more than, gee, I don't like that there's so many people who speak the wrong language in my country. I kind of want to live in a world where I can talk to my neighbors without having to get out a translation book. I mean, I really just don't want to live in some, let's let every alien in the universe live here, and, we'll all have to do this diversity thing. Diversity doesn't work out too well. It's not a great plan. It's a terrible inconvenience at minimum, right? At minimum, it's a horrible inconvenience. Okay, and it's in the worst case scenario, it is a destruction of a lot of people's whole narrative of what it means to be human. Because if you're going to make the humans look like something else, they're going to say, Well, what about my people? What about what this is? Are there going to be no more of me's here? You're just going to drown us all out and starve us out of existence? There won't be any, Native American. There won't be any more, you can't find, and there's not even any genetic code left from certain tribes that lived in South America and all that kind of. You're just going to wipe us out entirely? And we're supposed to say great? Yeah, but that doesn't mean you vote for Trump, if you get my point. So just because you think there might be something a little scary about changing physics because it doesn't have little quantum mechanical wooey stuff in it anymore, it doesn't give you excuses to believe in free will, just understand what you're defending when you sit there and say, this is good physics. That this video did a good job of illustrating the truth. Because it did a horrible job. It did it in this silly, childish antics way. It has every piece of, being a piece of steaming propaganda bullshit. So just understand what you're supporting, and that, don't complain then when the world goes to shit, because you're putting quarters in the make it shit machine. You're not defending the truth or integrity or honorable behavior. You're defending shit, which it's just really stupid. Okay. So I thought I wanted to get back to some of these comments just because I said, oh yeah, I remember some bitch, okay, Maggie Fat Ass. She says Adams, but I think she changed her name. Well done, Steve. He sounds like a misogynist. So look at this is the icon for the video, right? So he's selling it with the women with their licking on a popsicle or something, doing the whole mouth open thing. And you're calling me the misogynist. The whole video's got porn crap in it. You can see the women's butts here. They're moving their butts up and down while they're doing this motion. What the hell is this motion supposed to represent? So, Maggie, how fucking dumb are you? You don't think that's misogynism? He subtly shoved a bunch of pornographic type images of women into the video, and you're calling me the misogynist. You don't see how your radar and you're a really shitty battleship, okay, of good behavior. That you've got it so fucking backwards. And then then she says a fantasist. A fantasist about what exactly? I'm the one fighting against the wooey little fantasies that they've placed in physics. Do you really think photons are... Is anybody watching me? Is anybody watching me? You really think they're doing that? They have ESP and all that shit? And you're calling me the fantasist. Oh, amazing. And then you say, if not liar. And so what evidence do you have for anything, any statement made by me that's a lie? Do you have anything to back that up with? So what are you really? Are you wearing a red hat on your big giant fat ass? Who are you and what are you about that you make these accusations based on zero evidence? You don't have any evidence for them. They're just the election was stolen. They made 8 million fake votes. Come on. Who are you and what are you? What kind of insane fuck is you? Okay, explain to me. So, yeah, Stephen had to apologize because his comments aren't showing up. Yeah, I've had that problem, but too bad. Haha. Yeah. But just amazing that I'm the one being called, somehow I'm the one chaining women, that I'm saying you must obey your uterus and that you can't be a tranny and you can't do this and you can't do... No, I've never defended any chains or bullshit put on a woman. I think she should be able to be little space people. She should do whatever wacky crap men do. And all I've done is express my disappointment that what women have done with their emancipation, their right to, be free, is they've been free to be Homer Simpson, okay? Free to be a worse example of humanity. They haven't shown us how to be really great humans. They've ended up being Hillary Clinton lying sacks of crap. That's what they've done with their liberation. And it's disappointing. Oy. Okay. He thinks he is the smartest man on earth. Well, until proven otherwise, why, just exactly why should I believe that I'm anything other than that? I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but until you show me somebody's doing it better, what other conclusion can I have? I mean, the two-slit experiment's been around for 200 years, and it took, show me the example of somebody else who figured out, hey, those lines don't even match. I mean, if I do what he says and put waves coming out of the center of the slits, it doesn't work. I mean, you couldn't even figure out that it's not, the points aren't even in the right location. Let alone all the other stuff that I've shown you, okay, that is the truth of the actual pattern. And then again, this 1/2 mv squared has been sitting there in physics for now 400 years. This silly formula that has no merit, that has no experiments really defending it. There's absolutely no reason for it. Momentum always works. There's no example of momentum failing to give you the right answer about what the energy consequence is of something. If you want to know what its energy is, you just calculate its momentum and you'll know its energy potential. And so what else am I supposed to conclude? I'm supposed to conclude what? That until you show me the evidence of somebody doing it better, I'm stuck with that. Yes, I don't want the title. I don't need the title. But frankly, yeah, there's nothing else to say, is there? Until you show me to be wrong, then I guess I'm stuck with it. Anyway, when he can't even program a simulation that proves his theory. Well, there's no simulation produced by regular physics either, right? They use blenders. They physically put liquid in a blender and photograph it to show you what a black hole looks like. Whoa, 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 whoa. So did they program a simulation? No. See, the problem is I'm trying to simulate the stuff they gave up on, like gravity and charge. Now, you want to show me some great simulations they have of those things that make any sense at all, that you think actually have something to do with reality? See, simulating reality means you have to simulate 1 trillion interactions per second. At least. 1 trillion. Okay? That's the only way you can simulate the life of an electron. So it's not exactly that easy. And clearly they haven't got the answer, right? They're just calling them virtual photons. They don't even know how, they're so far from figuring out how charge works that they don't even have any clue why it pushes or why it pulls. So they can't even draw you a picture of it that's rational. And here you are dissing me because, yeah, I don't have a perfect I can simulate it, okay? You want me to simulate it by cheating, I can do it. But I don't want to cheat. I want to really have every single particle accounted for. Because I know the generalizations are true. But I don't want to synthesize the generalizations. I don't want to cheat by using blenders or using some other mechanism just to make my 50-50 thing come out right. So I'm just waiting for the simulation to be better. Period. It's already shown proof of concept. I want it just to be really good. All right. So that's just such a shitty little dig to make. I'm one person. They're millions of people. You don't even get that. I mean, I don't have staff. I don't have people. Okay? I don't have all that shit that they have. They have billions of dollars and millions of people who have worked on this crap like LIGO and shit. And they still, you people can't even figure out that, what do you mean? You're sending the photon through 16 reflections off mirrors, and then you're telling me you know exactly how far it traveled? When you have no idea how deep it went into the mirror each time. How the hell can you do that? Do you have an answer to these questions? No. Oh, you people are so unfair. You're just such duplicitous cheaters. Ugh. Anyway, His self-image is too unrealistic, like a child who doesn't know his reality. Oh, so you're a child beater. Yeah. Yeah, clear. I'm like a child who says, "What the fuck, asshole adults?" And I challenge the silly Santa Claus. What the fuck? You think you're gonna sell that shit to me? The Tooth Fairy? Yeah, fuck you. You're lying sacks of shit. Yeah, that's the child I am. The child who really doesn't want to play this role of let's all be stupid humans forever. Yes, train me to be a lying, stupid fantasy believer, like you assholes. People who can't deal with reality. People who don't tell their children, I've sentenced you to death, you know. Yeah, who knows when. Yeah, it's probable that you'll be okay for a little while. You know, there's only like a 1.5% chance you'll die the first 20 years of your life. But later on, it gets to be really fun because, you know, it's like you're rolling dice and, you know, it starts off with only one skull and crossbone face. And then this crossbone faces start being more and more of them and more of them. And you're rolling your little dice every year to see if you're going to get killed. It's going to be so much fun. That's what I've given you. That's my present. Are you happy? Fuck you. Yo, lifter liver. What is this? Lefty love? Lifty love? Little pink icon, fairy creature icon. I mean, you people, you're such pieces of shit. Okay, anyway. Nobody can fix it. Whatever that means. And nobody can fix it. So there's a kid who does that. So there's a kid who has an unrealistic childlike, so there's a childlike self-image of reality. No, I don't think there's any children doing that, unfortunately. They're all being brainwashed by your little pink crap. Okay, they're all hoping there's sprinkles on their birthday cake. Oh, I hope there's glitter and sprinkles on my birthday cake. Silly puppet show will continue. Now, what video had the silly puppet show in it? Right? So we have 17 minutes of complete horseshit video. I mean, jump cut, bullshit, blah, 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 nonsense. Just full of crope mining and experiment mining and flashy little 3-second views of images. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm the one playing the game. Oh, it's not Steve. Oh, I see. Amazing horseshit. Thanks. My reply made a few minutes ago seems to have vanished. A lot of my replies are vanishing. I'm having this vanishing problem. Blah, 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 blah. I'll take some whatever, X-Lax. All right. So Metamorph has said the great video thing. Now he has a new comment down here. I'll have to... I don't know why these comments aren't showing up in order of time because I didn't change the arrangement. Okay, let's see. So we'll come crawling out of the... Let's see, what is this? I'm sure something suitable will come crawling out of his assistance sooner or later. LOL, what a great autocorrect. Oh, okay, his ass. Oh, yeah, we did that already. So we did Jerry. Let's see if there was... I don't know if there was replies I missed. I know there's some other assholes in here. All right, I used to watch him. Yeah, so we did all that crap. I don't know if we read all of Steven's endless, mindless crapola. Let's see, it's just endless excuses. Okay, it's clear that he will never accept an experiment that is contrary to his ideas. So let's understand, it seems that Steve's the one with the acceptance problem, right? So I'll play the clips in his video there. He's calling it my cheat. So the spring experiment that showed I'm right, he says is cheating somehow. Now, he's not going to tell us how it's cheating. It's just somehow changing the momentum, he's saying. Now, that's in contrast to the Professor Lewin video that demonstrates with an air track, you know, where it's done really quite well, and, you know, very technical timing devices, all that kind of crap, that clearly shows there is no cheat. Just amazing. He still outright denies and doesn't understand the results of the double slit experiment. So this, we don't have any evidence of this denial of anything and how I'm wrong about anything. So again, in Steve's comments here, you could post links. So why don't you post links to the videos I should be watching that show you're right? I mean, here I just got done playing, I'm going to play the rest of Feynman's video. I mean, it's a piece of steaming shit. So again, what are you defending? Are you defending lying and propaganda and distortion and exaggeration? Pigeonholing. Is this really what you wish to defend in the world? Because you're going to get what you feed. That's the world you create. What you feed, you're going to get more of. Anyway. So this is the denial's gravitational lensing. Yes, of course I do, because there's no good evidence of it. So Metamorph talks about that, so we'll do this newer comment. I just had a good laugh over Gary's contention that gravitational lensing should require some sort of supersymmetrical form, because look at black holes. Now, I don't believe black holes exist. I might believe that neutron stars do. But anyway, I'm just saying the theory of the thing creating your lensing is objects that have insanely high gravity. Now, matter, unless you believe in some new form of matter, matter has a certain structure that's going to be modified. It can't get any stronger. It's not like there's double superglue and triple superglue. So matter itself only has a certain strength. You can only make a molecule with a certain amount of integrity. And there's like you could go to tungsten or something and say there's the hardest metal. And you really can't get any harder. You can't get any more than that. And these gravitational numbers are so extreme that if there was a little tiny tungsten mountain, the mountain couldn't resist the gravity, and it would have to, go symmetrical. So that's why the Earth is a sphere, and that's why the Moon is a sphere, and they're pretty good spheres. Really close to being perfect spheres, actually. I mean, they're pretty close. I mean, it's just a tiny little bulge here on the Earth, realistically. So they're very, very good spheres, and that's what gravity causes. All right, and that's just a fact. So he's making some argument that I'm wrong to think that if you're going to have lensing in galaxies, that is lensing that goes over hundreds of light years, thousands of light years even, thousands of light years of space is now lensing an image. It's a gigantic lens. It means the gravity that's causing it, thousands of light years away from where you're getting the effect, the gravity has to be insanely high. Insanely high gravity has to exist there. And that causes symmetry. There can't be any way that the object can be in any way distorted or any of this kind of stuff. The lens has to be so perfect because the thing creating the lens, it demands it. There's no, it's not a glass lens, it's a gravity lens. And gravity's mathematics is rigid, and you can't escape it. And again, physicists confirm that theory. It's not like I made that up. They'll tell you that that's the feature of a black hole. That's a feature of things with high gravity, is they have no hair, they have no lumps, they have no pimples, they have nothing. Okay. So again, he's just arguing with even conventional physics to take a shot at me. He's dumping real physics, his physics, the physics he thinks is true, he's dumping it in the garbage can just so he can throw the garbage can at me. That's how desperate these people are to gain just cheap shot points. They just don't care about any points, like how they get the points, they don't care. They just want the points. All right, they're super symmetrical, LOL. So he thinks it's funny that black holes are symmetrical. So he doesn't even understand what role mass density plays here. So no, I do understand it much better than you do, clearly. Comparing a relatively small but ridiculously compact sphere with an observation area encompassing whole galaxies. Exactly. Whole galaxies have to be even more rigid in terms of their gravitational, what they're creating. Just because you take the Earth and you move its pieces around a little bit in space, you're not going to change the gravity it produces. So I could make the Earth 4 times bigger, and then I could move it into clumpy places. It wouldn't change the gravitational profile at a distance at all. So you're the one who doesn't understand. Okay. You can't reason with this degree of dumb. Sheesh. Yeah, well, you really prove that with really nothing. All right. So if a black hole is the same as a gravitational lens stretched out over parsecs, then they both should be perfectly symmetrical. Yeah, I'm saying the gravity you're saying you need in the location is so high that you can't get it from the local piece of mass. So if I move a bunch of suns over to places, the amount one sun is producing is so minimal, it can't have any effect over the entire gravity created by the entire galaxy. It's way, way, way too tiny an influence to change the gravitational profile. And it can't do it anyway, because that's why the galaxies tend to go symmetrical also, is because they don't have a choice. Anyway, which means that gravitational lens and black holes are both the same as bowling balls, which means a witch. So again, he thinks it's a witch theory. That's why the symmetry is so obviously in existence. That's why, like I said, you can see it in every planet in our solar system. You can see the consequences of strong gravity. That's why they're all spheres. Okay. Who is this basement-dwelling trilobite so wise in the ways of science? Nee. So he's doing a Monty Python joke. So you don't think that... You think Monty Python would think you're on the right side? I mean, they're anti-establishment. I don't know whether you realize that, but they're sort of anti your little wooey fairy tales. You know, they made fun of aliens, and they make fun of lots of your silly theories that you hold on to so dear. So it's your premises that are made a mockery, okay, by Monty Python. So it is quite funny. I guess that Gary's reasoning, since birds naturally seek the shape of being a bird. So again, obviously I would never say anything like that. So this is like the whatever irrational reverse straw man kind of argument. And since flocks of birds don't take the shape of birds, then there is no such thing as flocks of birds. Gravity has nothing to do with the shape of birds. Okay, so another stretch, right? Another trick a medicine man might pull on you is to switch the analogy and the metaphor, to something completely not the same thing at all. And, push gravity. Well, anyway, I suspect he's really Dennis Moore, whoever the fuck that is, the Monty Python highwayman who stole nothing but unpins to give to the poor. Oh, Lupins. Yeah, the Lupins guy. Whatever. On second thought, he hates the poor. Yeah, that's right. I hate the rich more, though. So that's the catch. The rich are the scummiest pieces of crap in the universe. Okay, they waste so much money on absolute crap. But the poor also suck. They're both stealing from the productive worker. The productive worker is feeding both the poor and the rich. Okay, and that's not fair. No, he's Basil Fawlty in a wig on a bad day. So again, all of this bullshit has what to do with the arguments actually made. That if you're going to say there's an Einstein ring, around an object, that there's certain mathematical rules that have to be obeyed. And if the ring is broken and asymmetrical, then it's not likely it's an Einstein ring created by gravity intense enough to bend light. And bend a lot of light. I mean, you have to bend a lot of photons to create one of these things. A lot of photons. And let's understand, Einstein stated you never see an Einstein ring because it would be so thin. So you haven't even overcome Einstein's own objection to Einstein rings. Because by seeing it, you're basically saying Einstein was wrong about Einstein rings. And your evidence for why Einstein is wrong is what? So how do you account for why Einstein was wrong? What didn't Einstein understand about the angles and the possibilities? That gravity isn't a very good lens. That is, it won't nice and gradually allow you to bend photons, and it's the wrong shape. Let's point out it's exactly the opposite function of a regular lens. It bends light the further out you go. It bends it less when you need it to bend it more. And the light on the inside, it's bending more, and you need it to bend it less. And it's bending in the wrong direction. So I'm just saying Einstein knew that you couldn't see an Einstein ring because it'd only be one tiny little space where the photon would actually get bent, all in the right direction from each location. Just one tiny line, and that's all you'd have. Because the next line, the gravity would be wrong. And the next line above it, the gravity would be wrong. So you'd never be able to have more than a photon's worth of thickness, technically, in an Einstein ring. Now, do you have any counter argument for the actual physics? No, let's not argue the actual facts. Let's do this crap forever. Let's argue lies, bullshit, stuff you made up, blind assertions of your true icons. My totem pole is the totem pole. No. I mean, you people are despicable, lying, shit for brain, cruddy, shitty examples of decency. Yeah, you're indecent hypocrites. All right. Okay, some old peaceful. Ooh, the funny old goat. So that's just another YouTube useless sack of shitter. Thanks for watching. That's awesome. Hope he's all right. I think one of these has a reply from, the Fartley, I think. Just curious, based on what you know his claims, how do you expect him to explain away the results of your experiments? So that's an interesting statement, just right, because Stephen's basically conceding I'm right in the video. So that is funny. Sorry for the delay in answering. I'm struggling with image how I can possibly invent an excuse this time. So even though in his own video he's conceding I'm right, he can't understand how I could possibly reject how he's proven me wrong. Yeah, well, I explained how I can possibly do it, but whatever. Thank you for being a helpful mirror to this tricky situation. I'll have to see what that comment was. He won't come after you in any kind of physical way. I do find the coincidental silence from his channel a bit troubling, so that's all kind of funny. Anyway, let's keep going, see if there's anything in here. Personally difficult to cope with and avoid it. The point I'm hoping folks will reach out to Amanda or Pyro or others. Oh, this is all crap about the fact that I didn't have any internet. All right, so here's that metamorph again. If Gary's going to do more than just making noise, he should hand his cash prize over to a neutral third party. So overtly in my video, I said exactly that, okay, in the sense that the judge would be a neutral third party. Now, the handing over the cash, as I pointed out before, I'd rather pay it once and only once. So I don't want PayPal to get any extra money. I don't want to make it so it costs $60 just to do the transfer of the money. So blah, blah, blah. I'm an efficiency kind of person. I don't like waste. All right. But there's okay, I've made the public contract to pay the money. So the money doesn't need to be in some third person's hand. But yes, the judge will have to be some party we both agree on. So duh about that. But I said that overtly in the video. So this is just more lies from a guy who has no integrity. There's absolutely no evidence I've never paid somebody I owed money to. So you have zero evidence of my inability to pay the money or unwillingness to pay the money. I mean, it's just, you're just making this, prejudgment that you're allowed to do this somehow. You're allowed to just say that. And I think that's just showing your lack of integrity. All right, who gets to decide what evidence and what's not? Again, somebody, we'll have to agree on, some party who's going to have to decide who won the argument. Yes, somebody who has integrity. I want somebody honest. You can pick somebody who you'll, try to be dishonest, but yeah, I just care about the person having something called integrity. I assume we can find one of those somewhere on this dirty, stinking planet. If Gary is the final arbiter, right, so this is all, again, I've overtly stated it, and they just ignore that, and pretend that it wasn't overtly stated. Oh, jeez, they're just so dishonest. Let's see what this Steven says. Well, he already owes me at least $50. So why do I owe you anything? You didn't say you're going to do the experiment. I mean, I clearly said in the video, email me. We have to have a contract. I'm not going to pay somebody for something ambiguous. This is just so dishonest. I should pay you for what? Making a cartoon video? Doing experiments horribly bad? I'm going to pay you to do a wacky, stupid, I'll just bang him with a stick and bang him into anything. I'm going to pay you for that? No, you're an idiot. So I mean, this is just such a lie, right? So I make a public offer. I'm saying to somebody, yes, if you're willing to do the experiment and you can do it with some sort of precision, I will pay you. Let me know what you want as a fee, $100, $200, $500. But if I'm going to pay you, say, $500, you're going to have to do one hell of a great experiment. So I have to see. I have to know what you're going to do. You're going to machine tracks, and then you're going to have a precision, light sensor that's going to detect the distance it travels. And, you're going to have to do something a little better than whacking two balls with two taped up balls of quarters, with a stick. Yeah, you're going to have to do a little better than that. Oh, amazing. Amazing. Because he promised that... as a bare minimum to anyone who could show him a kinetic energy demonstration of a lighter object doing more work. So he just showed in his video a lighter object not doing more work. Right? He showed 2 experiments, and he says now he's proven it. You haven't proven it if you have 2 experiments that don't agree with each other, asshole. That's not the definition of a good proof. A good proof doesn't mean I prove both things. Oh, amazingly stupid. All right, let's see. Demonstrations of the lighter object doing more work. So he really thinks that's what he proved. When, again, I'll play the clip where, no, when he did the experiment the right way, he proved exactly the opposite. Exactly what I asserted. All right, he will never pay up, of course. So again, some kind of, this implication that I made some sort of deal with you, you fucking lying sack of shit. I mean, this asshole keeps implying that I ever uttered a word or made a promise to him of anything that I ever broke. That I in some way did something to cheat him. I never did any such thing. All I did was say Asperger's is horse shit. Okay? It's just saying I don't like the facts of life. Like, yes, of course you're allowed to say that, but don't pretend it's some sort of brain disease. Don't pretend it came bubbling out of some kind of vapor from the earth that made you think that way. No, okay? We all have to deal with the facts of life, and a lot of us don't like them. And I'm not going to pretend it's because I have Asperger's. Oh, fuck. And that pissed him off. So let's understand, that's all this is about. I didn't break any promises to this lying sack of shit. All right, because he's a lying, cheating scumbag. No, you are. And it's clearly proven by the fact you can't show a single fact defending your accusation that I in any way promised you a motherfucking thing, you lying sack of shit. Oh, he thinks I should pay a contract where there's no contract. Shit. Hey, up, Steven. Yeah, so I already blocked this asshole. I want come on, where's the other guy's comments? All right, so this has been difficult, some, whatever, trailer trash conversation. Blah, 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 blah. He's been a little quiet today, so I don't know. I guess this is an older comment. Not what I'm looking for, Jerry. I don't watch Wheeler as much anymore. Oh, well, you still do? This is just a total, it's so redundant. You can't, I've already seen all of Ken Wheeler's new videos. I've already seen them by watching his old ones. It's mostly repetition. Yes, I mean, he's never going to say any new sentence. He's already said all the sentences he has, and now he just throws the sentences in new forms, but it's all the same sentences. You know what he will say before he says it. Okay, so this is all stuff I for certainly already know. Okay, so I'm not getting the comments from what's his face. So let me try hitting the button and see if I get them. That stupid, whatever the other troll's name is. I don't know. Fred Guttigsburg. I can't remember his name. So I guess I have to open this video in a private window to see the comments. I don't know. I mean, it appears to be hiding the comments from me. And it didn't open this. Well, thank you. Okay, now it opened it. Alright, it says Mindless Marble, Stephen Bros. Okay, so it's not that one. So one of these has 9 replies that has the... here we go. This is the one. Let's see. Not sure I like this. When So he's using it's just such a pile of shit. These people who think they own my fucking name is so fucking goddamn rude. And you people are applauding that also. Doxing people for no good reason at all. I mean, just no reason except spite and to damage their life, to threaten them. What the fuck is wrong with you people? You're going to get what you pay for again. What you reward, you're going to get. So, yes, I hope you get exactly what you deserve. I hope somebody steals your personal property. I hope they, steal your name, steal your credit card, steal your identity, do all of this crap these trolls do. And I hope they ruin your fucking life, because that's exactly what you deserve. You fucking piece of shit. It's exactly what you deserve. All right. Thanks. It would be like, I would like to name one or two of Gary's theories that you think justify his confidence that he deserves a Nobel Prize. Well, again, I've only outed the most famous double slit experiment. I've outed it, and you haven't made one counter argument to a single thing stated in that video. That video's been up for now 6 months, and you haven't made one single statement pointing out that you can debunk a single fucking thing said in it. You lame piece of shit. So yeah, I'd say that was a pretty good, right there, Nobel Prize right there. This mysterious wooey experiment that's defied explanation for hundreds of years, and yes, I explained it. Or even a pat on the back, then it would be only too glad to put your mind to rest that he is usually quite definitely wrong. So again, he hasn't demonstrated this with anything but cartoon videos. Oh, look at all this crap. No, we're not doing that. I know so because I tested most of his theories. So another fat fucking lie. A disgusting fat fucking lie. So let's play his video right now. And I'll have to get back to that. So I really did want to get to what's his face, but shit, this video is going to be forever. Well, so what? I'll pause and so I really didn't understand what he was doing here. So like halfway through the video, he starts talking about Gary's cheat, right? And he kept showing this image. I'm saying, what the fuck is this about? And I was like, hey, the only good news is he actually put a ruler next to the spring, so this makes sense. Okay, and he's using the same spring for both objects, so that makes sense. And so what he's saying is this simple experiment of just using a spring to launch the objects is the cheat. He's saying that's cheating. So using the same spring to launch them with exactly the same amount of energy is somehow cheating. Okay, so that's the irony, right? All right, so it's just too silly. That he's actually saying, yes, if you do the experiment as Gary stated, you'll get these results that definitely show they have the same momentum. You put energy in, you get the same energy out. You don't get more, you don't get less, you get the same energy out. There's no magic create new energy by putting lighter things on springs. You can't put a lighter thing on the spring and make it give you more energy. The spring always produces the same energy. That's it. There is no mv squared. There is no v squared where all I do is change the velocity and I can change how much energy I got. No, you can't change how much energy there is. So, so it's through the whole video. He's showing this. See, Gary's cheat again. So he keeps showing it as if, but he didn't show the experiment till the very end. So in the very end, he actually shows the experiment and actually shows Gary was right. So instead of Gary's cheat, it's Gary was absolutely 100% correct in predicting the outcome of this experiment. So instead of saying what's the honest truth, he calls that Gary's cheat. Gary's cheat is proof Gary is right. That's what this should be titled. Proof Gary was right. That would be the honest title. All right. So, well, let's just pause for the fun of it. Yeah, I could use some nicotine, actually. Need a hit. All right, we should be back. Right, so I'll read some of this Stephen comment, but it's just, I know so because I tested most of his theories. The only one that which came close to being right was my ripple tank experiments, which confirm, for the time being at any rate, that excessive agitation of the water appears to cause the so-called single slit pattern in water waves. Yeah, so the argument is that if you want to use this comparison thing, like, oh, it's just like water waves. Well, in the single slit, the photon experiment doesn't look at all like the water wave experiment. So they have nothing essentially in common. There is no seems like, is like argument to be made. And physics doesn't want to deal with those facts, so they don't emphasize them. They don't say those things. When they say it looks like water waves, they don't point out that no, it doesn't with the single slit, no, it doesn't with the multi-slit. It only does with the two slit. Is there some vague appearance of similarity, but it's very vague, very not totally accurate, because if you actually know what the pattern looks like, they don't make the same pattern. All right, anyway. But in fairness to himself, it was me who did these tests. Gary had such little faith. I say, this is just such bullshit. It's just lying some more, okay? In his own theories, he spent not one penny on experiments. No, as I said to Steve right to his face, is that, yeah, I have the experiments have to be done well, so I'm not spending any money on something to do it wrong. I'm going to do it right or not do it at all. That's the strategy. You do it correctly or you don't bother. And I have spent money on just the ones to gain information on theoretical concepts. So I did buy a laser, and I did shoot a laser at a piece of plain glass. And I did create the bullseye pattern, just because there was moisture on the glass. So just a little bit of humidity on the glass actually created the pattern, which sort of gave away the idea that this interferometer isn't even necessary, that all I need is a dirty piece of glass, and I create exactly the same bullseye pattern. So that was a huge giveaway that the interferometer is a big pile of crap, that it's a theoretical pile of crap. Okay, I did those experiments. I made these discoveries. I drew these conclusions. You've done nothing. You've made no contribution in any sensible way to anything, because you don't do anything in any kind of rationally disciplined, logical way, because you're a silly person. You're a clown. Okay, yours truly ended up paying for all Gary's experiments. So again, I asked him to pay for nothing and even warned him against it. I made pleas to him. Please don't spend any money. Please don't. I made pleas to him. I can show you the private. I'm pleading with him. Okay? Hey, I didn't authorize any of this. Please don't. These exact warnings were made to him. And he said, no, I want to know this. I want to know. It's for my own purposes too. It's not just for your experiment. It's for my own purposes. That was his excuse. No, it's fine. These are public videos. I think some of these videos are public. And here he is making this stupid lie, saying that somehow I am responsible for him wasting money doing things I didn't ask him to do. All right. Just amazing liar. because he gave the impression, oh, here we go, he was desperately poor. I have an income that's, less than $1,300 a month, okay? So, yes, you try to live in America, in New Jersey on that, fuckhead. So, yeah, I have to be a little careful about every fucking 50 cents. That's the fucking truth of it, asshole. Oh, man, what a fucking piece of shit. Couldn't even afford cigarettes. Yeah, that's right, they're $10 fucking a pack, shithead. How the fuck could I afford $20 a day? Explain to me exactly how I can afford $20 a day, okay, on $1,300 a month. You do the math, asshole. So I sent him the stuff to do the experiments and did the experiments for him without charge. So again, this is just such a lie. I didn't ask him to do a fucking thing. So let's understand, I didn't ask him to do a fucking thing in terms of spending $1. I didn't ask him to spend one fucking dollar. If you don't have the equipment, you don't have the stuff, fuck it, we'll get somebody who does. I even suggested to him, look, we'll go ask the people that have the radar dishes to do the experiment. I said these exact fucking words to this stupid lying piece of shit. And here he is portraying this in a completely different manner, this lying piece of shit. And you people reward liars like this. You say, go ahead, lie some more, lie some more, lie some more. Our side must win. So lie, lie, lie. And he calls me the cheater. This piece of scum. Oh, fuck. Little did I know that he had thousands of dollars stuffed down his underpants reserved for gambling. So again, yeah, the fact is, I live a life that's meager, but I'm not stupid. I know the thing called a rainy day. I know those are going to happen. There's things called rainy days. And I have to have some capacity to survive. I have to have a boat that can float in choppy water. So, yeah, I have ballast, okay? So I can cover it. It doesn't mean I don't have no income. It doesn't mean I'm not poor. And the fact is the truth is that it shows how much I am willing to invest, is the fact that I know I can first pay the money because I know I can get it if I have to. I do have family that can, I can get $5,000 from. So I have a safety net in a sense, okay? It's not one I'd want to use, but I have it. So I can cover it, jackass. I'm just 1,000,000,000% quite confident that the fact is I am right and these investments will be into my advantage. I will get the money back. I will win. Yeah. YouTube, so anyway, gambling with us paupers. So you're not supposed to be gambling. That's the whole point, right? So you believe conventional physics is correct. I'm just asking you to pony up, okay, on the truth. So he still doesn't know the truth. So he did the experiments and he thinks he proved something. And even now he still doesn't believe it. He doesn't have enough confidence in 1/2 MV squared to put up money. To put up any kind of promissory, okay, I'll put up $500. Maybe I won't be able to pay you at all at once, but yeah, maybe I could do, if I lose, I can pay you $50 a year. He's not even willing to do some lame act like that to put the money up. He has so little confidence he's actually going to win the bet. Okay, or to bribe legitimate science channels on YouTube into talking to him. No, I don't even ask them to talk to me. All they got to do is play a 17-minute video pointing out how, yes, I'm right and you are, in fact, full of shit, doopy morons, and see what their audience can make of that. I was quite shocked when he recently mentioned paying $8,000 property tax. Yeah, you're shocked? Well, it's a fact in America, fuckhead. We don't have that whole VAT tax crap and all the other stuff, so yeah, we pay our taxes in bizarre ways. I didn't realize he owned a property. I live in a house that I have to pay the property taxes on. It's just part of the agreement. Alright? That's my rent, asshole. Is this any of your business? Oh no, it really isn't any of your business at all. Why is this an issue? So, they just can't mind their own business. They can't play any game of any integrity here at all. They have to weasel their way into all this crap that's absolutely none of your fucking cunt business. Because of your lies. I have to defend myself against your fucking lies. And you think that's being a straight up honest human being. Forcing me to defend myself against your overt lies. Stuff you have no facts. You're just making shit up. And I have to defend myself against the shit you just fucking made up. You bastard pedophile shithead. I mean, really. It's disgusting that you think you have a right to do this horse shit. I can speak about relativity because I know so little about it, but judging from the subjects I know about and the gross mistakes Gary's made on those subjects, I think it's highly unlikely that he was more accurate in his other investigations. So the gravity video isn't even complicated. You have a simple thing, a phenomenon, gravity, okay, which is causing things to apparently, all material objects are somehow absorbing energy out of the universe because things are being pushed into them constantly. So somehow they are a negative. Somehow, from the universe's perspective, every piece of matter is just this idea that it contains a lessness, a dent in the space, a void. And everything's going towards the void. And again, if you're a rational person, you know three-dimensional space can't be bent. So in 3 dimensions, it's a void, that everything's going towards the void. Somehow every piece of matter looks like a hole and everything's trying to fall into it. So that's a fact. And their explanation is it's magical. Okay, all the electrons and protons just know that the other matter is a hole and they have to fall into the hole. Somehow they know they're supposed to do that. And I've given you a rational explanation that that's actually, yes, there is energy in the universe and it's pushing them because the matter actually, when the matter moves, it's moving slower than the speed of light, and the force pushing it now is moving slower than the speed of light because it's pushing it. See, something moves the speed of light and then it pushes something that goes much slower. So it's just like these train and momentum experiments. The momentum has been diminished by pushing the mass. Okay, so it's almost the inverse of the kinetic energy formula in the sense that it's sort of lost its real energy. Its real momentum has kind of been lost because it is being slowed down while it pushes the matter. And if the matter doesn't actually do something in the universe, that is, it doesn't hit another piece of matter or another force, then all of that energy is kind of lost. Now, I would argue it's really technically not because things are still reflecting off the piece of matter and all that kind of stuff. But the fact is, if I'm viewing the piece of matter, the fact is it is by moving electrons and protons around, it's actually absorbing energy out of the universe. Now, is that too hard for you to understand? I mean, it's a mechanical process. You can't opine on the difference between an actual explanation that involves actual physical events and an explanation that says God done it. You can't see the difference between those two? Yeah, I can. So I guess I am, again, way smarter than you. Anyway. Gary's made those subjects, I think, highly unlikely that he couldn't even properly identify double or single slit patterns. So a big fat lie. So go ahead, play the 17-minute video and take your shots. Go ahead and show how it's inaccurate. Now, it's got a couple little fudgy bits in it, but I'm just saying, go ahead. Try not to quote mine it and explain how the theory I'm presenting is incorrect. Made numerous mistakes in trying to do so. So again, what the past mistakes are the past mistakes. Doesn't really matter. Deal with the current existing argument or prove that you're lame and feeble and you don't have any rational argument. I mean, if all you can do is quote mine, then again, that's just showing your desperation, isn't it? You can't argue the argument I want to argue. You have to argue some previous argument I made 5 years ago. Oh, that shows you're pretty fucking lame. Okay. All right. If you want evidence of this, I will be happy to advise. Yeah, give me the evidence. Email me your evidence, please. Please email me your evidence, lying sack of dirty, smelly, obviously dirty and smelly shit. Okay. All right. But take an even simpler example. He couldn't even be bothered to rip the paper cone out of an old loudspeaker. So again, he's still going on about this loudspeaker thing. I talked about old telephones. They don't have paper cones. The speaker is carbon, so it moves the speaker in a completely different way. So I'm not even going to read this. It's so fucking stupid, because clearly I wasn't making some explicit, overt argument about how all speakers work. I was making a general statement about the idea of what the fuck a speaker is doing, which is just moving air. Oh, fuck. All right. His theories are largely fantasy, so you won't show evidence of that. Every now and then he says something kind of right, but when I have overtly supported him. Where did this happen? I usually think it's good when laymen try to learn enough to question mainstream science. Again, what have you learned? Absolutely nothing. You can't even figure out how to do an experiment where you compensate for things like friction. You don't even know what friction is, and that it's sort of the enemy of an accurate experiment. Even Sir David Attenborough, I don't even want to go into this. Okay, the boy just went out with a bucket and spade and began digging fossils. So this is that's great physics, is when you get lucky and find a fossil. You're a great physicist then, or a great scientist, because you got lucky. Oh, okay. If that boy had never gone digging, blah, 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 blah. But Gary guarantees he will come back empty-handed by refusing to ever do any experiments. So again, I have done experiments. They're in my videos. So just a lie. But again, I will assert there's no point in doing experiments that don't have great integrity. If you can't do them well, then they just create noise. That's the whole problem with like Ken Wheelers and people like that. When you don't explain how the ferrocell works and you don't understand all this other stuff that isn't in the context of what you're doing, then all you're doing is confusing people and lying. And I'm not for any of that, shithead. Sorry, I've gone on a bit. Yeah, right. But you get the idea. I get the idea that you're just a lying sack of shit who just makes crap up and says it about other people, and that makes you a slandering piece of shit. Okay? You're just a shit talker. You don't talk facts, you talk shit. And it's really offensive. If there is any areas you have reason to think Gary is likely to be correct about, I will be glad to show you whatever evidence I have on that particular subject. If you have the evidence, why don't you just show the evidence to everybody? Why is this evidence some sort of secret possession of yours? So you're like Robert Ritchie or something. You have a whole bunch of secret compiled experiments. You're waiting for what? for what? What are the event you're waiting for to show us all your great knowledge? Usually experimental evidence that is quite boring to observe and follow. Well, how would that make any difference to a rational person? If I put up 25 videos tomorrow of different experiments, why would I care? I'm not obligating anybody to watch the videos. You think you have an obligation to watch the videos? The people say, oh, I have an obligation to watch all of those videos. No, you just post them, say, I'm going to post a bunch of my compiled, what's on my bookshelf. And watch what you want. What's the harm? Why are you afraid to do that? Oh, because you'd have to be accountable for the crap that you're going to throw on the internet. Yeah, most of it will be crap. That's the truth, and you know that's the truth. It's not about being boring. It's that people will realize that I'm full of shit and that I don't do things very carefully, which is one of the reasons I don't automatically post it all on YouTube. So it's one of the reasons. I see no rational reason to deny us this insight you've gained through some experiment. Please, allow us to use our judgment. Allow us to choose to stay ignorant, of the grand truth you're going to reveal. God, these people, it would send people to sleep. So again, this is just amazing. He really thinks everybody thinks there's an icon. I have to click on it. I have to watch the video. He thinks that's how the internet works. So he's arguing about people's integrity of their physics theory, and he doesn't even understand how the internet works. That no one's obligated to watch the videos. Because let's face it, almost no one is interested in seeing. So again, he keeps saying it. All right, seeing half the ideas Gary comes up with. Well, we know that the internet, especially YouTube, has changed, and that no one gets to any channels anymore. Okay, it really is just, popularity, and that's it. All right, YouTube doesn't do any promoting of the minor channels, so the only people that can do it are the viewers, and they have to network and they have to do all that. And clearly, yes, this isn't the truth people want to hear, that physics is full of shit, that these scientists are unreliable, because they're invested in them for a lot of reasons. Okay, a lot of atheists don't want the scientists to look like assholes, because that's going to make atheism look stupid. I mean, there's a lot of side damage that comes from recognizing this. But eventually it's going to be outed that LIGO wasted billions of dollars. I mean, eventually people are going to realize they're not coming up with any of these matches anymore. The more the LIGO machines they build, the more the machines aren't going to say, yeah, that's a wave thingy. And they're going to realize that most of these results were crap. Or all of them. Being it's like the Mars probe. You think that, this Mars probe was a great idea, it's going to do something so super. No, there's still just shitty pictures of dust. There's nothing. It's a big waste of money. All right, being tested for dozens of hours. Hell, even Gary isn't interested, and they are his theories. So I don't understand where you're saying I'm not interested. I'm making videos daily, an hour's worth of them. Okay, by the way, when did he show him the odd one or two experiments he unpublished form? By the way, when I showed him an odd one or two experiments in unpublished form, all he did was misrepresent them. So another lie stated by him, that somehow because I saw the obvious problems, I'm therefore misrepresenting them. So publish them, Steve. I've said this to you before. Publish every interaction we had, anything like that, publish it, please. Because it's only going to demonstrate that you're a liar. Okay, the one where I tried to show the difference between this demagnetism and paramagnetism. Yes, I've already conceded I was using the two terms inversely and incorrectly. So that's all not an issue anymore. So again, he just keeps dragging up issues that really aren't terribly important, but he thinks they're important. There was I had no interaction with him on doing any kind of diamagnetism versus paramagnetism video. So it was really the one that was the important one was the radar experiment. Okay, there was no conversation about doing these magnetism experiments. I defined no experiment. I suggested no experiment. It had nothing to do with any of that. But the fact is, I was incorrect about some of the ways I was using the terminology. And I've corrected that and stated I was incorrect. So that's not good enough. He has to keep harping. Let's see. So I learned to be very cautious showing Gary experiments that he could misrepresent by similar mistakes on his part. So again, I didn't misrepresent anything beyond making my criticisms, and some of them were valid and some of them weren't. That's just that's a fact of interaction, butthead. That's going to happen when you're interacting and arguing and trying to get to a truth. There will be some mistakes made. Now, they should be made in good faith, and there's no fault for that. But there's nothing good faith about your misrepresentations of every single conversation or event that took place between us. That's your choice to misrepresent those things. Anyway, let me know if there's any info I can show you. So what the hell would that be? I request, yes, all info that you can show. Show us all the info. Okay. Let's see. Thank you for your in-depth response. I was, of course, being sarcastic, and I'm fully aware of Gary is a fraud, a liar, and an idiot. So again, I'm a fraud, how? I'm a liar, how? There won't be any evidence of any of this, especially the liar part. There won't be any evidence of any lie. Well, there certainly won't be evidence of any fraud. It's just amazing. Now you don't prove me an idiot? Well, you're not going to be able to do that one either. Oh, that's a relief. Thank you. Still, I gave me the opportunity to practice responding to anyone who generally thought I was too harsh on him. Harsh? You did a cartoon video. You attempted character assassination and did it really poorly. I mean, I should see the ones that I've been holding back for 6 months. So again, this promise that he has some sort of evidence of something. I mean, what lame bullshit. I mean, it's just look at that. I mean, this lying to people. Oh yeah, I really have the good stuff. It's it's in the refrigerator. Some of them are hilarious. Okay, but by the time I finished laughing, about a month later usually, the novelty has worn off. So it's all novelty. It's all this bullshit. So again, I've made 3 videos that I'm saying are pretty indestructible in terms of they're good enough, 85% solid. So play one of those videos, one of those 3 15-minute videos, and point out how you have better knowledge of reality. Prove it, show it. Dissect them and show how they're misrepresenting something. So it's one on what is gravity, one on what is a photon, and what is energy. And clearly you can't even understand the theoretical argument regarding kinetic energy. Can you defend in some way the reasoning for the formula in the very beginning? What fact of the universe was so glaringly being misunderstood by Descartes and Newton that it needed to be corrected by Leibniz? Can you explain to me that fundamental reasoning for why we needed this other formula? What void did it fill? What error did it correct? You won't be able to answer that simple question. That all it was for the purpose of defense of metaphysics. It was just in defense of Leibniz's religion. That's why it exists in physics. Because a religious nut saw a threat to religion in Newton's austerity. And he had to create a living force because he could see where Newton's mechanics was leading. It was leading to a deterministic universe. And he had to find it out. Finally, Steve Godfrey. That's the asshole. All right, Gary doesn't think he needs to prove his ideas. So where does anybody have that indication? The argument I'm making is that I can prove them. And that's why I want a physicist. That's why I want to get somebody who has something to lose to counter-argue. Because I want to show them the 17-minute video on the photon and point out that they'll have no way of saying it's wrong. That explanation will work. It will explain all the phenomenon, and it will destroy any notion of entanglement and superposition. It'll get rid of the woo in physics, wipe out any necessity for it at all, because it'll be a simple mechanical explanation for the phenomenon. All right, anyway, he thinks they should be accepted simply because he asserts them. So another fat fucking lie by another stinking, lousy liar. I make hours of videos explaining exactly why I believe something, going through every logical step I went through to draw the conclusion. As I just pointed out with the interferometer, I took a piece of glass and put it at a 45-degree angle and noticed, hell, that's a lot of light that reflects. The 2 beams are almost equal in their strength, which was also a surprise. Just a piece of glass. I didn't need to half silver it, and I could already reflect a big pile of light off of it. So it was already saying, gee, that's almost a beam splitter all by itself. And then I noticed the pattern being created because there were water molecules on it, and that was creating the bullseye pattern. And so I go through the whole process. It's actually why I'm finding it suspect, why I'm finding their theory suspect. And I'm explaining. I explained to you why you should be doubtful about an interferometer that's bouncing a beam of light through mirrors 1,600 times, because logically you can understand the mirror the surface of the mirror could never be perfect, and so sometimes it's going to go, the beam of the photon will go that deep, and then sometimes it'll go that deep, and sometimes it'll go that deep. Every time it's going to go a different depth into the mirror. So how could I possibly know exactly how far it traveled when it's going different depths into the mirror? So I explained the exact logic of why I doubt what they're saying. And this asshole makes this assertion. It doesn't make any sense at all. How can you possibly assert something so preposterously dishonest when I go to such an effort to explain exactly why I believe something? I have no explanation that I just say to you, gravity is an inside job, and then you believe me. I have no expectation that I can say bent space is bullshit without explaining to you why it's bullshit. Oh, God. It's just such an outrageous lie when I go to such an effort to explain in all these videos. Anyway, his infamous court case. So again, he's going to lie some more about the court case, the one he's ignorant of. And he's going to lie. I mean, just overtly lie. So, I mean, Stephen, just understand, yeah, maybe you live in Japan or something, you don't have to obey the law. But this is an overt lie. It's slander. Okay? You're saying things happened that didn't happen. You're making accusations about my conduct and about what took place that are lies. They are dishonest lies. Okay. Dismissed because the court concluded he didn't have any viable claims. That's just such a lie again. Okay? You can keep saying it, but like I said, the first judge said exactly what the second judge said. The first judge said that. And then what did the appeals court, a federal appeals court, say? That judge, you're off the case, okay? You violated the procedure. You didn't even look at the case. That's what the court said, okay? You can't do that because you're obviously just acting out of your bias or something. You didn't even hear the case. How can you didn't even read the case. How can you make a judgment on the case? So the claims weren't even addressed, and the court basically said you have to address the claims actually in the papers. You can't just say it's unviable. You have to explain why it's unviable. And there was no explanation. And the second judge did exactly the same thing. So let's not misunderstand. The same argument would apply from the appeals court that you're just doing it all over again. Oh, you're just such a dishonest, lying sack of shit. All right. Concluded. So these are things in the future, like I say, if I have any power, I'm going to really emphasize just how evil judges are. I mean, judges are lying sacks of constitutional violating shit. They do it all the fucking time, and there's no fucking accountability. And that is a bigger crime. That's a huge crime in America, that you can't go to a court and get an honest judge. That's disgusting. All right. His ephilism, so he's just changing subjects here. He can't even stay on the subject of the fucking video. What a sack of shit. Anyway, can be summarily waved away without further thought. So because yes, women's is supposed to be pregnant. We're supposed to make babies. That's what nature told us to do. So we just do that because it's a great idea to make things that are going to die. Yeah, he summarily dispensed with the issue that, it might be unethical to sentence something to something. Maybe you have no right to be a life creator, retard. Anyway. So I'm not gonna, no point in going into that. Now same with his physics. So what do you know about physics? Absolutely nothing. Will you make a physics argument somewhere? No, you won't. Will you demonstrate your knowledge by making an actual physics argument? Post me a link to the physics you say is correct and well evidenced. What a sack of shit. But being proven demonstratively and unequivocally wrong. So he doesn't even see, again, he didn't see what was in Steve's video, the obvious statement in Steve's video, because Steve was so dishonest. Instead of saying Gary was right, he said Gary's cheat somehow, that the best experiment Steve did proved me right. So the experiment with the best integrity, done well, better than all the other experiments, is the one that proves me right. And he says I summarily was proven wrong. Oh, apparently I wasn't, jackass. Shit. But that's how little you know. All right. Anything that doesn't align with his pronouncements is objectively wrong. So objective doesn't have anything to do with the subject. It's beyond the fact that obviously when you do something subjective, like say, hey, that girl's hot, that doesn't mean much as a fact. Okay? But when you say that girl has a 400-pound ass, that means something because we can measure it. You know, put it on a scale, we can do things to deduce whether that's actually true. See, you don't understand anything about words and logic and, you know, how these formulas of vocabulary are just as important as the formulas of physics. Your sentences need to be well structured, and you don't have any knowledge of that at all. Beyond being able to do grammatical things like, oh, I have 6 verbs and 14 nouns in that paragraph. So yeah, that's just right. You know, besides doing that kind of anal bullshit, you don't even understand what words are for. You think they're for distortion and lying, not for telling the truth and illustrating the truth. All right. Anything that doesn't align, anyway, objectively wrong because of the fact it doesn't align with his pronouncements. So again, all of my videos are not pronouncements. My videos are explanations. Every fucking one of them is an explanation. There is never, ever, ever a pronouncement beyond I think. I have concluded. There's no pronouncements beyond my right to voice what I logically think it adds up to. I think virtual photon is a silly explanation. As physics, it's silly. That's my assertion. Now, you can say, oh no, I think doing that virtual thing is totally cool. It's the best way to describe reality is to create a bunch of gremlins, gremlitons, you know, and pixietons. Yeah. So they could just have been called, instead of virtual photon, they could have called it pixieton. Because there's absolutely no difference between a pixieton and a virtual photon. And I'm saying that's silly. You can agree or disagree. You can make an argument explaining why you disagree. But until you make that argument, I'm going to keep saying I think pixieton is a silly explanation. Anyway, how he expects to be taken seriously is beyond me. Well, I expect it because I'm going to earn it. I'm going to fight for it. I'm going to endeavor to persevere. Okay, and I'm going to knock this Tower of Babel down. I'm going to do it. It's going to eventually happen, Steve, and you're just going to look like a big fat asshole on the anus humans. Okay, you're going to be a anal wart on the anus of the trolls. And that's what you're going to amount to. Your contribution is going to be, oh, another asshole who just shit. And that's all he could do. That's my contribution. Fart and shit. All right, anyway. So Steven says, I've often wondered whether he already knows most of his physics is wrong. So again, this wondering, so they produce zero evidence and they think, I think I'm wrong. And I'm doing all this work because I think I'm wrong. I mean, they couldn't make a worse guess at the truth. So these guys are telling you they know the truth. They know how to add up facts. And they have, I'm telling you, quite overtly missed it so obviously. I mean, the fact is, I do think I'm smarter than all of you. I do think I have the truth. I do think I can defend it to a fair 10-year-old. Okay, so all I need is a fair brain to argue with, and I'll convince them. But I can't convince people who won't listen. Okay, who won't hear the truth. Okay, some Christian fanatic who just says, I don't know, evolution, no. That's all you people are doing. You don't want to argue the argument. I've made plain assertions about reality. I've shown you the video. The Professor Lewin video demonstrates it so obviously that the same amount of energy goes in both directions. Have any of you made a single counter argument explaining why it would be reasonable to believe that less energy goes in one direction? That there's any reason to believe that? Oh, that's right, none. You haven't responded to a single one of my questions. 0 of them have you answered. Because you're gutless cowards. All right, anyway. I understand it's sometimes difficult to believe that he isn't a troll who's going to make a video one day where he comes clean. All right, it's just so fucking bullshit. Yeah, you're right. I'm the troll, right? I'm the one getting into everybody else's personal business. Oh, yeah, that's what I do on my videos. I am the one doxing people and doing these cartoon videos and quote mining them. I don't play their whole video and their whole argument. I am not the one who's, plays the physics lectures. No. I mean, you people are so dishonest. You're just such hypocrites. I mean, there's no point in reading this, right? I mean, these are just one insane assertion after another. All clearly intended to damage my character. All intended to give people the impression that I am guilty of some fucking crime. It is overt slander. It's an overt crime. If we had a just world, okay, you'd be dragged into court and be forced to explain why you're lying, you fucking sack of shit. For what purpose is this disinformation you are spreading? All right. Anyway, unfortunately, the evidence points to the opposite direction. So again, there's no evidence. Please present your evidence. I wish a court judge could actually say to you, you just said that. The evidence points in the opposite direction. Well, he's saying there is no evidence. So where's your evidence? Will you please put your evidence on the goddamn evidence table? And what are you going to put on the table, Steve? Well, Stephen Bro says so. Look, he did these experiments here. And the judge is going to say, hey, I know a very little about physics, but I know this fucking mess isn't a good experiment, okay? This sloppy shit isn't the stuff that you make experiments out of. I mean, if Faraday did experiments this fucking ugly, Faraday would have been out of business. Okay? Anyway, that's enough, right? Yeah. I mean, there's 4 more. I don't know if it's just worth it. Oh, now we've got the rape and torture a woman crap in here. I mean, just amazing. Yeah, I make an argument that let's say there was a man who was actually abusing his children. That is, he was actually had them in a cellar and he's, torturing them. And you understood it to be child abuse. I mean, he had chained to the wall, okay, the children, chained to the wall, underfed, all of that crap. Now, in your opinion, that's child abuse. And if in your opinion, the only way you could free those children in the basement was by sticking a nail slowly into the eye of the father, right? So you're going to hurt the perpetrator, and you're going to hurt him really bad, okay? Actually torture the perpetrator. Now you would say, sure, do that, okay? Frankly, I mean, it's the only way to save the victims. The victims are not having nails driven in their eye, but it's really bad. It's child abuse. It should never happen. The asshole has to pay the price. That's just the fact. It's unfortunate, but yes, to free the children, you do what you have to do. Now, I've made the same argument. That's what I think women do when they recklessly have babies. They have no clue how to be a parent. They have no, and they, in fact, kill their children. A certain percentage of them kill their kids in all kinds of horrible ways because they're just shitty parents. And I'm basically just saying, if I could liberate all of those abused children, all the ones who are going to be raped by the ignorance of their parents, all the ones who are going to be destroyed by that ignorance, turned into drug addicts by that ignorance, in all kinds of ways harmed. And I could release all of those by preventing it. I can prevent them from being chained to the stupidity of their parents. And what I had to do was drive a nail into one of those parents' eye. I'm doing it. Now, because I expressed that honest opinion in defense of victims, he is recharacterizing it into, I want to go out and torture parents. No, I really don't. But I'm just saying, if I had the choice to free the victims, of course I will compromise the welfare of the perpetrator. I will shoot a rapist. Now, you say that's irrational. Okay, that all I should do is rape the rapist. I'm not allowed to do anything worse than raping a rapist. I can't actually do anything worse to him. But yeah, I'd shoot him. Okay, before he rapes. So he hasn't even committed the crime yet, and I would shoot him. You wouldn't. and you say, because I have a different opinion than you on that subject, that somehow I want to harm something, I want to hurt something, when clearly I'm overtly stating I want to protect something. And you have no appreciation for what I want to protect. You don't value it. That's your bad, in my opinion. But get the argument correct. That if I have some flaw, my flaw is that I give victims too much power. I value preventing trespasses against people's rights more than you do. That's all. But instead you characterize it like this because you're just such a liar. You can't do anything honest. You can't do anything with integrity. You're just a lying sack of lying shit. And that's going to be on you, Steve. Steve Godfrey, okay? Because I'm going to live longer than you. My words are going to be louder than yours for all of human history in the future. I'll be something. You're going to be nothing but a troll. So live with that, you dirty, ugly, smelly, lying sack of shit. Okay, I will bury you on the ash heap of asshole. You will be appropriately pissed on, okay, as one of the sacks of shit that some stupid parent abused into being a perpetrator. Oh yes, you're a victim also, okay, but it's not the good kind of victim. You didn't learn any life lessons. Whatever abuse you took in life, you're now being the bully, asshole. You're the abuser. You're now the tainted piece of scum. Okay, so live with that, asshole. Ooh, these liars accusing somebody else of lying. It's just disgusting. Oh, and then you bring up Amanda, completely different people, different world, different subject entirely, and he can't resist. He has to drag something through dirt and mud. I mean, he has a real shit fetish. The guy just loves shit, and he loves to drag things through shit. Because that's the only way he can interact with the world, like some retard who's actually sitting there eating his own poo. That's his mentality. An extreme attachment problem. I mean, whatever. So you just quote minds, manipulate people's words just to try to do damage, all right, to their character, to imply something that's not evil, that's not wrong. He's making the very fact that somebody would be attached to me as an internet personality. He's making that somehow into a character flaw. I mean, and here he is obsessed. He spends his whole life trying to find these defects, these little places, little cracks in my skin where he can, push his little dirty virus in. I mean, he's just trying to find any way to crumble something, to destroy something, to break something. Because he doesn't have anything he can build. He doesn't have any other mission in life. He's just a dirty, stinking piece of pus. And he's just looking for something to infect. Disgusting human beings. All right, anyway. Enough. So, fuck you, Stephen Bro. Okay, you're just a fucking troll. You obviously don't care about engineering and science and electronics and any of this. You obviously think it has no integrity, and it's not something you should get people to understand and to enjoy as much as you do. You're sitting there saying, I think of this as being precious, and what did you do again to women? Oh, women deserve respect. Women deserve to be appreciated for their contributions, their capacity to contribute. And what did you do? You played a video where you shoved these stupid images on top of this crap. Images of women not being free, not being liberated from being just fucking goddamn images to wank to, not just being some sort of, toy for a male. I mean, you're such a stupid fuck. You make these accusations, and here you are, guilty as so fucking goddamn guilty. Do you want to go into a courtroom and explain to the judge how you're the great feminist defending women's rights when you did this to them in a video? You fucking idiot. God damn it. I mean, it's such an outrageous claim. I mean, for this goddamn asshole to sit there and, you know, he sits there and commits the violation in the video. He's raping women, and then he's calling somebody else a rapist. It's just amazing. How do people get this despicably duplicitous? All right. Done. I'm done. All right, I'm not done. Yeah, I'll do this thing. Alright, this has been, it's hard to tell it was a draft physics video, but it got into all this stuff. So I don't want to hear any crap on any other subjects. If you can't make a physics argument, fuck off. And, you know, just discontinue your function. It'd be okay with me.